hypothetical situations, LeBron James is going to make the right basketball play. LeBron is really not a drive, pull-up type of a guy, Skip. If you notice LeBron is a fadeaway, three-point shooter, drive all the way to the basket. So probably Byron Russell probably would have played him differently. He probably would have backed off because he wouldn't have respected LeBron as a shooter like he did Jordan. So he had to hug up on Jordan because Jordan could shoot the ball at the mid-range. And so in the process of him hugging up on him, Jordan was, and plus Jordan still possessed at that time, Skip, the ability to get by you to the rim. So he just wanted to make sure, I can't give him a layup. I can't give him a layup. So as he turns, Jordan just gives him that shove and helps him get a little further to the rim where he wanted to protect and rises up over him. Skip, would he have taken that shot if he had gotten it wide open like Jordan did? Yes, yes. But I don't believe LeBron would have, I don't believe Byron Russell would have played LeBron like he played Jordan. If you remember, Skip, against the Spurs, they were telling back up, we'll give him that. And so it's hard to say he would have taken that exact shot because I don't believe Byron Russell would have given him that opportunity to take that shot because he'd have been off, backed off him a little bit. But if he was open, as wide open as Jordan was, sure he would have taken it.
Shannon Sharp, that
What?
final sequence and that final shot were precisely what separated Michael Jordan from LeBron. What elevated Michael above LeBron James was all right before your very eyes if you watched the whole final sequence. Now we need some context. I was there that night at Utah for Game 6. I was sitting courtside. Just it felt like I could reach out and touch Michael as he took the final shot. And I was told just before tip-off by a Bulls insider that Scotty had taken sick. He had fallen ill with some kind of flu, and it was so bad that he was a game-time decision whether he could even play Game 6. There was also a fear with a quick turnaround for Game 7 at Utah that he would not be available for a potential Game 7 versus Stockton and Malone in their house, the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. And right away in that game, Scotty did suck it up and try to go. He had a wide open dunk and he wrenched his back, probably because he was a little out of sorts, a little out of sync. And for a while, it looked like he wouldn't be able to come back into the game because of his wrenched back. To his credit, he did suck it up and last 26 minutes in that Game 6. Michael Jordan played 44 minutes and scored 45 points. The rest of the Bulls combined scored 42 points, 45 for Michael in 44 minutes to 42 for the whole rest of the team. Scotty managed to take 7 shots in that game, made 4 of them, but they're all twos, so he had 8 total points. So now we get to the final sequence. The Bulls are down the classic 1 point. So it's going to be sink or swim, do or die. And Michael ducks behind Karl Malone, as you've always pointed out, guarded by Dennis Rodman. That's who was guarding Karl. But he snaked behind him, knocked the ball cleanly out of Karl's hands. That's on Karl for not protecting the basketball. Grabbed and secured the basketball, and he elected to dribble it. Michael did all the way up court. Meanwhile, you can see over on the wing, for reasons I never quite figured, Scotty actually pauses coming up court to complain to the referee. And I'm thinking, now that I watched the video, I watched it 1,000 times yesterday, why would he want to complain to the referee? This is it. This is the final shot, the final sequence of probably your Bulls run. This is the last dance. Scotty, what are you doing? And it dawned on me, well, maybe he didn't really want to be a part of the final shot because he didn't really feel like he was up to taking and making the final shot. But he does duck into your picture, if you see the video, late, just as Michael is putting his move on Brian Russell. And I will give you, Michael did get away with a little push-off. That's the way the game was played. in the late 90s. There was still a football element to pro basketball.
Yeah.
And he got away with it because you just did. Everybody got away with that kind of a little subtle push-off. It wasn't enough to call an offensive foul in that era at that moment. And he did separate just enough from him. And Brian was a hellacious defender. He had done a really good job on Michael in previous games, such as Game 5 back at the United Center in Chicago. And yet Michael was able to rise up and, as you know, hold the pose as the ball's swishing through the nets. And I told you before, I own only one piece of sports memorabilia that I keep on the wall, and that's a final shot picture, and it's taken from the far baseline. And my favorite part of it is Scotty is over on the wing like this with his hands up like, I'm open. And I don't know if Michael saw him or not. He probably did because he had high basketball IQ and great court vision. And if he did see him, he's like, no. Yeah. Well, maybe by that point,
I don't think he saw him.
He didn't care.
Because if you look at it, Skip, Karl Malone is guarding Scottie Pippen. Karl Malone is guarding Scottie Pippen. And as Michael starts, so as he starts to come, Pippen was about to duck in, and then he sees Michael coming, he backs out. Karl Malone continues to go. And I believe that's why he pulled up. I believe, Skip, he might have tried to get all the way to the basket had Karl Malone not come. I don't think he saw Scottie, Skip, because he had his head down. I don't think he saw Scottie out his peripheral. But in a situation like that, Skip, LeBron James, my guy, GOAT James, is going to make the right play. He passed the ball to a guy that's in the NBA that was making $19 million. That's one George Hill. I would like to think that every player in the NBA, regardless of salary, can make a layup. And what should also happen is that you should be able to make free throws, especially if you're a guard. He was a career 81% free throw shooter. And he gagged one of them off, Skip. You know it, and I know it. So no matter what happened, if LeBron takes the last shot and makes it, they're going to say, oh, he just got lucky. If he misses it, he's unclutched. He passes it, that's why he's not Michael. LeBron was going to get criticized either way because that's what we do. Remember, he hit the game-winning shot against Indiana? Well, there was no pressure because the game was tied. He hit the game against Chicago, the game-winner against Chicago. Well, he was mad because David Blatt drew the play up for somebody else. We were always going to find a way to criticize LeBron, but at the end of the day, we see these clutch buckets time after time, or as the song goes, time after time.
You know and I know, LeBron in that situation would have kicked it to Scotty because it would have been the right basketball play. Scotty was an okay three-point shooter. He was 34% during that season. He had not been very good during the playoffs. But still, LeBron could have justified the right play was a wide-open, unguarded Scottie Pippen standing on the wing. I'm open. And yet, Michael pulled up and did what he does best, what he was the greatest at. No one has ever shot two-point jump shots any more clutchly than Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And he swished that one. And yet, on the other hand, if Karl had stayed out and Michael had driven the ball, Michael had the guts to go to the late-game free throw line if required, and make two to win. If you're down one, you have to make both to win the game. He would have made both. You know and I know, in the similar situation, there's no way LeBron is going to drive the basketball, even as in Game 1 at Oracle a couple of years ago, he had Steph switched on to him. He could have driven on Steph, and he could have shot the free throws instead of George Hill. But there's no way, Michael, that LeBron was going to make two free throws to win the game at the buzzer. I'm sorry. You know it, and I know it.
The last time we saw the Lakers play is against the Brooklyn Nets, and we saw LeBron drive. They bring four guys. He kicks to AD for a wide-open three, and AD misses it. It's as simple as this, Skip. The NBA is a make-or-miss league.
All right. One All-Star already admitted, guys, that the documentary could change his mind on the MJ versus LeBron debate. We go there next on Undisputed.